recommended a programmatic agreement with that. So all the details can be found about the project, about the memorial, and continued engagement on the way ahead at our website, specifically addressing the memorial. There'll be updates as we move into the next phase, which Kate will go into some detail on. I've asked her, and I would like to remind the committee that you are consulting parties as part of the way ahead with that. So, Caitlin?
Let me just ask, was the Commonwealth of Virginia anxious today, willing to take it?
Yes, in fact, it was solicited not only by the governor, but by the state, bipartisan state representatives.
We heard something about that, but then there was
Yes. So both Governor Youngkin and all of the Commonwealth's congressional members were in agreement and requested that Commonwealth receive the funding.
Good morning. So when I spoke to you last, I believe it was last week, February, I had given you a briefing on the removal process and how we had left the site at the end of that process. I had mentioned our next steps. So at that time, at the completion of the removal, one of the last things we did was document the condition of the site and the granite base, which remains in place. And we had worked with the State Historic Preservation Officer to determine what were the next steps to ensure the preservation of the base in place. So we have a programmatic agreement in place that was with the State Historic Preservation Officer for Virginia and with the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation. And it provides a number of stipulations that our agency must meet in order to complete our Section 106 National Historic Preservation Act compliance. One of the items is the long-term preservation of the base. So immediately after the removal, we had to do short-term preservation, so we secured the site to make sure it was safe for staff and visitors. We cleaned and we documented the base, and with our experts, who are Secretary of the Interior, qualified historic preservation professionals, we assessed the condition of the base and proposed a long-term preservation plan. Once the State Historic Preservation Officer signed off on that, the agency went forward with a contract to execute that plan. So the granite base was cleaned, documented. The concrete fill in the center of that granite base was cut down. Nothing was exposed. Everything was very stable. And our contractor poured a new concrete top in the center of the base. I don't know if you can tell from the image, but it is slightly domed, very slightly, to make sure it sheds water. Very smooth finish. That'll help with the shedding of the water and to prevent things from growing on it and to keep it clean. We selected a color that was sympathetic and compatible with the granite base. And it does have seams because it is such a wide pour. It has seams to prevent cracking. And then we put sealant colored gray to match the granite base in all the joints, and we sealed all the joints in the granite, not just the new concrete, but in the granite to prevent water infiltration and infiltration by wildlife and other things into the base. So the base is now sealed, it's watertight, and we have the State Historic Preservation Officer has signed off and said we have met our requirements for the long-term preservation of the base. So this is how it currently is proposed to be maintained. Next mitigation, the next stipulation in that programmatic agreement we must meet is this requirement for additional interpretation. So currently the cemetery does have on its website some interpretation regarding the memorial, and we do have this temporary sign in section 16. The programmatic agreement requires that we work with our consulting parties to design new interpretation for the memorial that gives information on its entire history, on how it was designed, around the location, and how it's been utilized through its history from its conception up through its removal. So that is the next piece of the compliance and mitigation process.
Hey, can you expand on who actually are consulting parties and what that
Certainly. So per the National Historic Preservation Act guidelines, implementing regulations. Consulting parties tend to fall into two buckets. You have the entitled parties, the required parties, so that's the agency, the state historic preservation officer for the state you're in, Virginia, and the advisory council on historic preservation. Then we have the invited consulting parties, those parties with an interest in the action. And we had nearly 100 invited consulting parties who participated in the public meetings and consulting party meetings. And those are some of the individuals who were in organizations that were notified. We pushed information out to them. So we pushed out notification of the amendment to the programmatic agreement. So that's a mix of, it includes this committee, it includes members of the public, subject matter experts, professional organizations, and a wide array of.
When you say members of the public, you're talking about individuals or?
Usually subject matter experts, because consulting parties generally aren't the public is covered in the public meeting. These consulting parties tend to be experts or interested parties that have more of a vested interest and more of a direct connection to the project that they.
They're selected or self-identified.
Both, it's at the discretion of the agency who becomes a consulting party, and we consult with the state historic preservation officers to confirm who that group should be.
Is there a specific list of that available?
It is, so it's pushed out to all the parties, we maintained a list, it's on our website, and every notification that goes out with our National Historic Preservation Act compliance, we push the current list of parties, and throughout the process, that group expanded as new parties were identified.
Maybe used to see what that list is, or maybe show it on the website.
Do you have access to the website from where you're at? I'll ask you to look on, we were,
Right there now.
yeah, we can, we get it before the end of the day, and we can even print it off, if you like, and maybe Caitlin, if you could provide us a print off of the list. It's over 100, I think, 120 at one point. We've had, it ebbs and flows. I think one of the things that was interesting is that folks from other states were interested and participated in our public meetings, and then had provided comments to us throughout the process. Almost 14, I don't remember the number. We'll get you the list.
Could I? Is the site accessible to the general public?
As soon as the base was safe and the concrete had cured, we removed the fencing and restored the ground, it's accessible.
Just to follow up on Jim's questions, if an individual, not part of an organization, individual wants to express his or her views of the state of Virginia on the disposition of the monument, who would they contact, and is that information available on our website?
So the State Historic Preservation Office is the one that will manage, they continue to manage. If you look at the amended programmatic agreement, we have, and the base programmatic agreement, they will be a partner with us through this whole process to include stipulation 5 for interpretation for the mitigation and removal. So we're in partnership with them on that. But the State Historic Preservation Office is the one that and they will likely begin a process. We can't speak to what their process will be, but they will likely begin a process as they move towards continuing to preserve it in accordance with the historic preservation standards.
If an individual just wanted to express their views, the State Historic Preservation Office, they didn't know that's the office, would they see that on our website?
They're gonna see on our website all of the agreements, and then, the PA, the amended PA stipulates that the state of Virginia, it's got the signatures on it,
Right.
for who signed, the amendment to the PA. So it's very clear, who's the point of contact for the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Okay, thank you.
So just to summarize, if I understand, really a good job of meeting our obligations of preserving the base in a way that will allow interpretation that is full.
Could I ask, oh, no, can I ask you, Renee, just for the record, am I correct in understanding that there was an amendment to the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, to actually put the memorial back at Arlington, and that amendment was defeated? So the Congress has actually now weighed in on this specific issue. Is that correct?
That is your statement.
You know what the vote was?
See if I can find it in the news related to that.
Can you amend an NDAA not in a year?
It was a vote for, it was a vote,
You could,
so, let me speak to what occurred, and then we can talk about what
okay.
happened in the NBA. This past June of 24, Rep. Clyde, the Republican, Georgia, Area 9, submitted an amendment, it was number 44, that was put to the floor for debate, in the House of Representatives. His amendment read, the Secretary of the Army shall relocate the Reconciliation Memorial, also known as the Reconciliation Monument, to its original location at Arlington National Cemetery. The Reconciliation Memorial shall not be given any designation or name other than the Reconciliation Memorial or Reconciliation Monument upon its relocation to Arlington National Cemetery. After a debate on the House floor, at the conclusion of the debate, the chair put the question on agreeing to the amendment, to a voice vote, and announced that ayes had prevailed. Rep. McClellan, Democrat from Virginia, demanded a recorded vote, and the chair postponed further proceedings at that time, to the time to be announced. It was actually later that night, after recorded votes had taken place, the amendment from Rep. Pride was not adopted for inclusion in the House version of the NDA, the current year's NDA report. The ayes had 192 votes, the noes had 230 votes, 15 members did not vote. And, if you'd like to see more about it, I have the website address where you can see the transcript of that.
Let me make sure I understood when they had the voice, the eyes carried it.
Sounded like it.
Sounded like it did.
I'll let Mr. Edwards discuss that.
I mean, that has no legal standing, and once you have the recorded vote.
Then with the recorded vote, the noes, nays.
Yes. No votes, 192, yes. So Congress has specifically weighed in on this issue.
Correct, in June.
Has the NDAA become law?
The current year NDA has been published. That by 20, no, it's not quite yet. It's in the final version.
Is it possible, a few years down the line, that Congress would bring up another amendment along the same line to adjourn?
Congress could have that right to bring it up. If it's just one vote at a specific time and place, but it is for the first time, Congress has actually expressed its will, and virtually every Democrat and a number of Republicans from northern states and California voted no on it. So it wasn't, that wouldn't be considered a close vote as of now. How much information they had, I don't know. Those are usually 10-minute debates, and most members, and you got hundreds of amendments on an NDA. Sort of put it in perspective. This wasn't something debated for days or hours even. 10-minute debate most likely, most members not on the floor, and vote was cast. So what knowledge they had of this whole situation before they voted, I don't know. But it is the will of Congress as of this point.
Do we know, and I think I've asked this question before, so I call. When we sent our report after going through months and literally thousands of inputs, and we sent our report forward to the secretary and said, this is what we did, this is what we heard, or this is how many people were against removing it, this is how many people before removing it, which I recall, nobody really came forward before removing it. So we sent that forward to her. Where does that go? Do we know, where does that information go after she, or her office receives?
Within, 90 days of her receiving that report, it has to go to Congress. So it goes to all of our oversight committee, Arlington National Cemetery Oversight Committee. And that description, I can remind you, is in the, 10 USC 7727 that covers this committee, it's 27, 23, excuse me, that covers this committee.
Who oversees us?
And that outlines what happens to your reports. And anything you report to the Secretary of the Army
Has
is
to go.
automatically goes to Congress.
So there were a certain number of members of Congress who were able to read what we,
The HAS, the SAS,
the House, the House.
If I had to guess,
Yeah. go ahead.
and I would say there were, you know,
Limited.
4 or 5 staffers that saw it, and if one member saw it, I'd be surprised.
Well, the people who came to us, the people who spoke to us over that number of series of meetings, I would think they've also gone to their representatives, their congressmen, senators, and made the same comments. So I would think that was just kind of, that the word finally got to Congress that way.
They had the right to do so.
They got an amendment, you know, on this one.
Yes.
So, yeah. I think it's worth saying, so there's this extensive programmatic agreement with lots of parties involved. The current status, as I understand it, is the state of Virginia has accepted the bronze piece that we looked at and so forth, and that, it is now, they're obligated to display it. Is that right?
they're committing to treat it as a national historic, object.
So,
Is that the right word, Caitlin?
It's a national register eligible historic park.
and that it's now up to them to, you know, put that together. You know, I think, I would think many of the people that spoke to us were concerned about it being
Historic.
destroyed, right? Literally, you know, melted down and all that kind of stuff. That can't happen, won't happen now. And ultimately, it will be, you know, the state of Virginia will display it someplace.
How big actually,
It's their property, so they will,
whatever you decide.
they will make some decisions. There is a memorandum of understanding with the Department of the Army, Department of Defense. I'm not at liberty to go into detail on that document, but they will treat it as a national historic, item eligible for the National Register. And I think they participated in all of our public events. They have the same interests in preserving, the memorial and in fact interpreting and telling the story. So I'm confident that, we can expect, it's what everybody needs to understand, it's a large endeavor. You know, it's one thing to disassemble something, it's another thing to identify a place for it that's appropriate, where they can interpret it correctly, so they have some work to do.
So, with that, we had, 124 pages, I think, of input. They were largely, not all, largely a form letter. There were a couple of items that, jumped out. One is about us, and that is the concern for, are we transparent enough? And, we have during the COVID world, created virtual opportunities for people to know. We're not obligated to do that, but I would ask get your sense of if you think it would be okay. I think it is feasible to create a hybrid meeting where we would meet in person, and the public, who many of them claim to be infirmed and elderly and so forth, still want to participate. So we can have access to that kind of participation. So I would ask your sense in the future if we could have a hybrid meeting to encourage greater participation of the public. Does anybody have any comments?
I do. My husband receives a number of amount of correspondence from one of videos. And he sent an email to Nat and forwarded the copy to my husband for him to read. And it gives the feeling that he or this group that he's with feels like they're being stifled, because they can't travel to be here, and they wanna make their comments, they wanna continue to make comments on topics. And so, you know, he feels that we're being, not transparent by not allowing them. I don't see any problem with allowing it if it's technically.
So you support it?
I do.
Anybody wouldn't care to object to that? So in the future, we can make that a part of our routine, and then, you know, they can at least hear and see the presentations, and then give them the opportunity for public comment. So, you know, that be, the other is